All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video as we preview preseason game number 1 between the Niners and the Denver Broncos. And we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. And they do run out. So get there early, get some brisket chili. Tell them that Krug sent you. We're also brought to you by Claw Daddy Arcades. They're a great follow on Instagram at Claw_Daddy_Arcades to find a location near you. And when you stop by, simply tell them that Larry Krueger sent you. Big thanks to Claw Daddy Arcades for sponsoring the Krug Show. They got brand new locations in Capitola Mall and Visalia Mall opening later this year. Thanks to Claw Daddy for sponsoring the Krug Show. All right, Niners, Broncos, game number 1. Preseason game number 1 tonight. What are we expecting to see? Well, first of all, and I've said this a couple times this week, but there's really 3 things that you get out of a preseason game. You get offensive cohesion, and then you get guys hurt, and sometimes seriously hurt. And then you kind of discover gems and guys that weren't part of your team last year, and you kind of figure out, hey, you know what, we can, this guy's going to be able to help us here, and that guy can help us there. And you kind of discover new areas of your roster and new players that show themselves in the preseason. So that's really what it's about. To me, the big question is, will Brock Purdy play? And I think that we got an indication that he won't play, just simply because the 49ers signed Tanner Mordecai back. So you've got Mordecai and you've got Mac Jones, and now you've got Carter Bradley. So you have a full complement of quarterbacks outside of Purdy and outside of Curtis Rourke, who obviously is not going to go because of the injury. He's being given a redshirt year. So I kind of think they may sit Purdy out in this game. I personally would play him at least one series. I think one series here, one series against the Chargers in the finale of the preseason, maybe a couple series against the Raiders. 4 or 5 series is all I would give him in the preseason, just to let him stay in rhythm and that kind of thing. But I think they probably won't play him tonight. And my guess is that it'll be Mac Jones that starts, and then you'll see Carter Bradley and Tanner Mordecai, as the game progresses. So that would be my guess. As far as, do I have a philosophy or do I have a belief of how things should go? Well, every team's a little different, right? Sean McVay believes don't play any of your regulars in the preseason because the games don't matter, and the only thing that can happen is negative. You're going to get guys hurt. They're not going to be ready for week 1, and then it's going to hurt you when the regular season begins. So that's one, philosophy. Another philosophy is, you need those calluses that the preseason reps provide to build up, the resistance to the kind of violence that you're going to have to endure over a 17-week NFL season. And it's just different philosophies. Shanahan believes in developing those calluses and putting his guys on the field and, hitting the ground ready to roll in week 1. McVay's like, you know what? I'll trade a little rustiness in week 1 to have a full complement of my stars on the field without injury. And it's just a different philosophy. Personally, I think the 49ers have suffered enough injuries already in this training camp that I would take, 6 guys and just not play them at all. And those guys would be Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Demo Lenore, and probably Ricky Pearsall. Those are the guys I wouldn't play. I wouldn't play those guys in the preseason. Just so I don't want to lose those guys. My season would be dramatically impacted if I did. I might even consider Dom Pooney on the list, but everybody else is going to play. But those would be the guys I'd sit out. I'd sit out 6 or 7 guys that I just think are core to what I'm doing this year. Are you really going to gain much from watching Christian McCaffrey or Trent Williams or Nick Bosa or Fred Warner? We know what they can do. We know what they can do. We know what they can't do. They know the system. I don't want to get them hurt and let them develop their rhythm in practice. So I would sit those guys out first and foremost. Brock, I think I'd give him the option. Do you want to get out there for a series? Because I want my quarterback in, full rhythm when I get to Lumen Field in Seattle in week 1. All right, gem potential. Who are we looking for tonight as far as potential gems? Well, it's a long list. It really is a long list. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball. I want to see Mac Jones, in a real game, move the team and put points on the board. I mean, that's really the final frontier for him. He's done it in practice. He did it in the joint practices against Denver. He completed a high percentage against a Denver defense that gave Brock Purdy fits. So I think that has a lot to do with the fact that Brock went against Denver's ones and Jones went against Denver's twos, and Denver has a very good collection of ones and not great depth. So they don't have great twos and threes, but they do have pretty good ones. And Brock went up against their ones, and it made all the difference in the world. But I want to see Mac Jones move the ball. I want to see Mac Jones put points on the board. I want to see Mac Jones continue to do, on the preseason field at Levi's, what we've seen him do on the practice field next to Levi's, and that's play smart football, process at the line of scrimmage, get the ball out, and play on time. That's what Mac does. Mac's not as athletic as Sam Darnold. He doesn't have that kind of an arm. He doesn't run around like Brock Purdy. What he does is he processes what he sees. He knows where to go with the ball, and he plays on time. The ball comes out on time pretty consistently. I haven't seen him look rattled. I haven't seen him look hurried or harangued or rushed. He's showed poise on the practice field, and he completes a high percentage of his passes. So I want to see more of the same. I want to see more of the same from Mac. I'd like to see a little bit of Carter Bradley and Tanner Mordecai. I think that's a legitimate competition. I like both those prospects. Bradley's got a howitzer. Mordecai's got a really good arm, but also he has 4.4 speed. I want to see those guys compete. I want to see what Mordecai looks like running this offense now that he's been in it for a year. And I want to see if Bradley, what he looks like running this offense since he's been in it for like 45 minutes. Two guys that have different experience levels in this offense, dramatically different. And what does it look like when you put them on the field? So I want to see those guys. The quarterbacks, definitely want to see the quarterbacks. I want to see Corey Kiner. Corey Kiner to me is a really good player. I see kind of a poor man's Emmitt Smith. Now, he's 5'10", 210. He runs in the mid 4.5s, not a burner, not an overly big running back. But this guy is productive, and he's got tremendous heart, tremendous contact balance. And that's why he reminds me of Emmitt. What was Emmitt Smith? Emmitt Smith, at the end of the day, wasn't the biggest back. He wasn't the fastest back. He was the best. He was one of the best backs ever. And why? Because of his instincts and his strength to run through arm tackles and his contact balance and his heart. He had strength and contact balance and heart. And that's what Corey Kiner has as well. It's a very similar skill set. He has great strength. He runs through arm tackles. He does not come down upon first contact. He's got tremendous heart, tremendous contact balance, and unbelievable production. So I think Corey Kiner is going to be really good. I think he's better than Jordan James. I think he's going to show that in this preseason. I want to see some of the receivers step up. Jordan Watkins, Jacob Cowing will not be playing most likely because he hasn't practiced yet. But I want to see Demarcus Robinson. I want to see Jordan Watkins. I want to see a number of the 49er receivers. I want to see them make plays. Let's see what they got. There's no Ayuk. There's no Debo. You're not going to have Ayuk or Debo for a good portion of the year. Let's find out what you got. I want to see some of the receivers make plays, including Jordan Watkins. On the offensive line, I thought one of the most interesting contrasts was Chris Furster, the Niners offensive line coach, his comments about Connor Colby and what my eyes showed me, about Connor Colby in the one-on-ones. In the one-on-one pass blocking drills, Connor Colby's been getting abused. But in the five-man, when he's out there with all five linemen, Furster likes what he's seen from Colby as a pass blocker to the point that he compared him to Dom Pooney from a year ago and said that he, feels confident putting Colby on the field because he knows he can pass protect. Now, he's not quite there as a run blocker, according to Chris, but he's really looks good as a pass protector, which was great to hear. So I would like to see Connor Colby. I personally think that if the Niners offensive line struggles, and Ben Barch winds up being the reason, that you could see the Niners plug in Connor Colby for Ben Barch at left guard at some point early in the season if that proves to be a weakness. There's also Drew Moss. Another guy on offense that I really enjoy watching is Drew Moss. Most of the guys that I want to see tonight, these potential gems, are on the defensive side of the ball. Marquise Siegel, hits really well. Like he hits like a safety, but he really covers like a corner. Jacob Robinson with his 4.36 speed, the BYU undrafted corners, had a number of really good days at practice. Stone Blanton is a tackling machine. I think Stone Blanton is going to make the preseason his personal playground. I would imagine Stone Blanton is going to make nothing but tackle after tackle after tackle. That's all he has ever done. And I really like Stone Blanton. Johnny Holland likes him as well. It's a big day for Junior Bergen, the return man on special teams. Jordan Watkins is a better receiver and looks to be as good as a punt returner. And it may mean that Bergen gets cut. So we'll see if Bergen can make a name for himself in the preseason. And then there's Upton Stout, who John Lynch compared to Rondé Barber, the Hall of Fame corner. There's CJ West, there's Nick Martin, there's Alfred Collins, there's Sebastian Valdez. There's a number of guys. We're not going to see Mikael Williams. He's not going to play because of the hyperextended knee. I want to see Bradley Anai. Bradley Anai has really looked good in the one-on-one pass rush drills, and he's coming off a tremendous year in the UFL. Can he continue his pass rush potential in the NFL? Derek Canteen, Tatum Bethune. There's a few guys that I really, really want to see tonight. So that's really what it's about. It's about, camp is about three things. Offense, let's see if the offense can build some rhythm, build a little cohesion, see that thing come together a little bit. I'd like to see some offensive cohesion. I want to see no injuries if possible. I don't want to lose anybody. And I want to discover 4 or 5 gems. You said, who will I be honing in on as far as, with the binoculars? Probably the offensive line and Corey Kiner. And then, Sebastian Valdez and the defensive line. Can Valdez, the undrafted free agent, defensive tackle, continue to rush the passer at this prolific rate like he's shown in practices? He looks phenomenal. And will that continue into the preseason? I think it's highly likely that we're going to see that. The other guy that I'm going to be honing in on is Nick Martin. Nick Martin to me, strikes me as he is a big game player. He you can evaluate him in practice, but linebacker is the one position, because it's so much about your physicality and your violence and your speed and your ability to diagnose. And so many attributes of being a linebacker only are, discernible by watching live reps. So, there's the old saying, don't judge the running backs till the pads come on. And I agree with that. But I would go even further, one step further. Don't judge the linebackers until they go live and hit. Because there's a big difference between tagging off on a runner and detonating with a big monster hit. And Nick Martin, who's, very, very strong, very, very fast, very, very productive. That's his game. He puts on these starching hits, and we haven't seen them in camp because you don't starch your teammates. You don't blow up your teammates. You want to get kicked off the roster, just blow up Christian McCaffrey or Brock Purdy in a practice session as a young defensive player trying to make this team, and Shanahan will cut your ass. So this is Nick Martin's moment to shine, and I'll be looking for Corey Kiner on offense and Nick Martin on defense, and I think those are the two guys I fully expect to shine the brightest tonight at Levi's. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles and Claw Daddy Arcades for sponsoring this video. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.